The question of what would have happened if Adolf Hitler had never existed is one of the most significant what-if scenarios in history. While it's impossible to know for sure, historians and enthusiasts have explored several plausible outcomes. The general consensus is that while the specific events of World War II would have been different, many of the underlying tensions that led to a major conflict would have likely remained. Here are some key points to consider. 1. The rise of German nationalism and extremism. Post-World War I Germany in the 1920s and 1930s was a hotbed of political and economic turmoil. The Treaty of Versailles, which ended World War I, was widely seen as a national humiliation. It imposed heavy reparations, stripped Germany of territory and colonies, and severely limited its military. This created a deep sense of anger and resentment among the German populace, a fertile ground for a new leader. This environment of humiliation and economic distress, exacerbated by the Great Depression, created a power vacuum. The Weimar Republic, Germany's democratic government at the time, was seen as weak and ineffective. It's highly probable that some form of extremist, nationalistic movement would have gained traction, even without Hitler. 2. The likelihood of World War II. War was not inevitable, but likely. While Hitler's specific brand of genocidal racial ideology and expansionist ambitions were unique, the conditions for a major European conflict were already in place. German military leaders were already secretly rearming in violation of the Treaty of Versailles long before Hitler came to power. A different nationalist leader might have pursued similar goals, such as reclaiming lost territories and restoring German power, though perhaps with a different approach. A different kind of war. A war without Hitler might have been more of a traditional European conflict, focused on territorial disputes and great power rivalry, rather than the racially motivated war of annihilation that the Nazis pursued. The Eastern Front, for example, might not have been a genocidal war against the Slavic peoples for Lebensraum living space, and the Holocaust as we know it likely would not have occurred. 3. The Holocaust. Hitler's personal ideology was key. The systematic, industrialized murder of 6 million Jews and millions of others, including Roma, homosexuals, and people with disabilities, was a direct result of Hitler's fanatical racial ideology. While anti-Semitism was widespread in Europe, the specific scale and methodology of the Holocaust were unique to the Nazi regime under Hitler's leadership. It's highly unlikely that another German leader, even a far-right nationalist, would have pursued a final solution of that nature. 4. The Soviet Union and the Cold War. An earlier confrontation, without Nazi Germany as the primary aggressor, the geopolitical landscape of Europe would have been radically different. It's possible that the main confrontation would have been between the colonial powers, Britain and France, and the Soviet Union, leading to an earlier Cold War. The Soviet Union under Stalin was already a major force, with ambitions of spreading communism. A German-Soviet alliance? Some historians speculate that without Hitler's anti-communist crusade, a different German nationalist government might have even formed an alliance with the Soviet Union, at least for a time, to counter the Western powers. In conclusion, while the world would be an unimaginably different place, the underlying forces of nationalism, economic depression, and resentment from World War I would have still created a very unstable Europe. A major conflict might have been unavoidable, but the specific form it took, particularly the genocidal nature of the war and the Holocaust, was a direct consequence of Adolf Hitler's unique and monstrous ideology.